Oh, I've been waiting for this figure since the moment it was released. I've been so excited to get stuck into the Grail Knight, and this figure really does not disappoint. I mean, this is top tier adventure series right here. Let's get stuck into why. Hi all, Chris here, the Geek Figure Fan, and today we are almost through wave 3 of the Hasbro Adventure series. So sad that we're almost at the end, but also exciting because the last two figures are both exciting and different. So today we're looking at another Last Crusade figure, and this is the Grail Knight. So a character that's not in a great deal of the movie, but is an incredibly pivotal figure in the film, and probably one of the biggest leaps of faith that you take when you watch these films is seeing a character that's sort of 700-800 years old, still being alive and just chilling, you know, having another read of that Bible that he's probably read a million times. But I don't even care. I love the character. I love what he symbolises, you know. The moment that you see him, you know that the Grail is real. So that's kind of what makes it, you know, you suspend disbelief as Indy's sort of making his own leap of faith as he's crossing that chasm on the sort of matte-painted bridge. But yeah, the interaction that Indy has with this Grail Knight, you know, the knight thinking that Indy is another knight who's come to challenge him for the Grail. Love it. Love all of that. And it's just such a cool 10-15 minutes of the movie. And I think what we're going to do first is get straight into this box. Box art itself is nothing new, but I tell you what, the colour scheme pops even more against this sort of grey, almost greyscale look of this Grail Knight. So the yellows, the ochres, the oranges and browns on this box really pop. On the front and the back, you've got the 3D photorealistic renderings of the figure, and you've then got my favourite side, the poster art, and two great images of the Grail Knight, especially the second one, where he's obviously explaining the situation to Indy, as we remember in the film. And then on the other side, you've got the 6 images of the 6 figures in the wave, and on the back you also have a rendering of the accessories that come with the figure. But that's effectively it for the box. I really want to get stuck into this figure, so let's get him out of the box, let's get him in hand. Let's have a look at the accessories and articulation first, and then we'll get him into some poses. So yeah, I mean the figure itself, so I've got him without his cloak accessory first. I'm really surprised at the quality of this figure. The colouring on it is fantastic. So it's not really grayscale. You know, it's got this kind of dirty beige look to the sort of underdress that he's wearing over his armour. And I just think it looks fantastic. Wing movement's great on this figure. Single joint in the elbow as we're used to. But really tough one, that one. Again, another problem with Wave 3 really. Really good movement in his wrists though. I'm impressed with that. Good movement in his legs. I don't think this sort of skirt is as restrictive as it has been on different figures. But single joint in the knees and good ankle movement. Incredible ankle movement actually on this one. And how good do those feet look? We'll look at them in greater detail. Great look at their head. Not the easiest movement, and it isn't a full exorcist on this. You probably could force it. And then average torso movement on there as well. We'll just pop him aside, and then we'll start having a look at his accessories. So here's the cloak, and I don't know if the picture really does it justice, but this is a fantastic thing. It clicks into the back. As you can see, me point in there, it clicks into the back of him. So let's just pick him up, and yeah, you can see there the little hole on the back, which is for the cloak, and this just sits over him. And when we've got him on display, you'll see that it just ends perfectly at his feet, and makes this an excellent figure to stand up as well. And then we've got kind of a double accessory. We've got his sword and his scabbard. And look at that. How cool is this that we get these two accessories that actually work? You could easily see Hasbro just making a non-functioning sword still in its scabbard. This is an excellent looking sword. I'm really impressed with the detail, especially on the hilt. Very impressive. And then we have the True Grail as the last accessory. You could consider it as part of the Grail table, but they list it as a standard accessory on this one. So we do get the True Grail, and you can choose whether to put it on the table or in his hand, I guess. And then we do have some more of the table accessories, so the bits and pieces that will sit on top of the Grail table when it's built. A few false grails, some fire, a little plate. So it's just a couple of bits and pieces to fill that up. We have already seen that once already with another figure. So there we go. I think let's get him into a couple of poses and see what we think. I think we'll just start with the figure on his own with the cloak here, just so that you can really focus in on how good this cloak is. It is amazing. The way this figure looks, it's so detailed, it feels so like chunky. There's real weight to this figure that you don't get on some of them. You know, some of them feel a little bit flimsy, or that they don't really feel substantial for the money that you pay in, and you definitely don't get that with this figure. I mean, we could talk in great detail about how this would be an unbelievable kit bash, or something that you could use, you know, in a fantasy sword and sandals kind of set, you know, or diorama. But from the perspective of the movie, I think this is an excellent version of the Grail Knight that we see in the film. Let's talk a little bit about this head sculpt, because I am so impressed with how good this head looks. And I'm including the sort of chain mail that is around his head as well. It all looks fantastic. It's the eyes and the eyebrows and the beard. They just look amazing on this. So impressed with this figure, and I knew that I was excited about it, but I didn't think I would love it quite as much as this. It is easily in my top 3 figures so far in this entire range. I cannot get over how good this figure is. So yeah, the face sculpt, fantastic. Really impressed with that. Let's talk a little bit more about this cloak. The fabric sort of look that they've put onto this is awesome. It really does feel like it's a thick woolen cloak that's been, you know, hand sewn. You can see stitching across the hood of the cloak, and the sort of red decorative rope that's used to tie the cloak around his neck as well. The detail on that necktie, even down to the little silver toggles that sit at the end of the rope, just brilliant. Yep, so impressed with this figure. So the cloak, I have no faults with this. It just looks perfect. You know, it fits him absolutely perfectly. It ends right at the bottom, exactly where you'd expect it to, you know, and it creates a good balance for this figure as well. So some of these Indiana Jones figures have not been the best at standing, and I'm sure a lot of us have found, especially the ones with the smaller feet, or the specific boots where you can't even fit stands into the bottom of them, you will have absolutely no issues standing this figure up. And then let's talk a little bit about some of the accessories as well. So, I mean, really, the sword and the scabbard, they are the main 2 accessories for this figure, really. Because I think I'll probably end up having the Grail as part of the table. There are other figures that I think that the Grail sits with better, for me anyway, than the Grail Knight itself. But this sword, the sword looks so good, so detailed, really, for such a small piece. And the fact that it comes in the scabbard means you're finally getting one of these accessories that isn't bent round corners as well. So I'm super impressed with that. You know, it fits perfectly in the scabbard, and you know, the way that scabbard sort of just pushes into a little lug on the Grail Knight's belt there means that there is space for that sword to go in. It won't fall out. Let's just talk a little bit about this belt while we're on the subject. Again, the detail that they've put onto this sort of fake leather looking belt, very impressive. It's a figure where they've really gone all out with the attention to detail. There's so many different types of fabrics, of materials that they're trying to replicate on a figure. So, you know, you've got that sort of woolen effect, you've got skin, you've got hair, you've got this chainmail, then you're looking at the padding on his sort of gown over the chainmail, you know, that's a completely different texture. You're looking at leather, there's just so much to this. There's rope on this figure, there's metal, you know, everything, it's all the different types of materials, and they nail every single one. And here we're seeing him now with the Grail as well, and the Grail looks fantastic. It's even got sort of a shine to the inside of it as well, as you'd expect. It's not kind of as pearlescent and, you know, metallic as it looks in the film, but there is definitely two tones to the cup itself on the inside and the outside. Very impressive for such a small piece, and it looks really good in hand. I think it's scaled correctly. It looks very small in his huge sort of chainmail hands, but when you place this with an Elsa or with an Indy, this will look absolutely to scale, and will look best, I think, on the Grail table when the Grail table's fully built. So yeah, nothing negative to say about that accessory really, and it's just such a pleasure to look at. And here the Grail Knight is defeated, offering the sword up to Indy as he does in the movie, and that's another thing about this figure, it's just so poseable. It looks like it would be difficult to move, and yet you can get him into so many different positions. Really, really impressed with this. It means that if you're creating kind of a scene around the Grail table with Henry Sr. on his back after he's been shot, and you've got Indy around him with the cup and Elsa and Walter Donovan, it means that you can put them into a variety of different positions. I didn't do that with the Grail Knight. I didn't think to when I was recording this sort of background footage. But you could easily have him on one knee, leaning on his sword for support. You know, you could have him in a variety of different positions. If you had a little stool for him, you could probably have him falling backwards onto that with the sword over his head as he does during his brief fight with Indy. So yeah, it's such an incredibly versatile figure, and I kind of didn't expect it to be as easily maneuverable and posable as it is. But yeah, there's just everything going for this figure. The silhouette, the detail, the colour, the face sculpt, the accessories, everything is top notch with this Grail Knight, and I can't say enough good things about it. If you're looking to collect any from Wave 3, Grail Knight should be top of your list. Awesome figure. So yeah, that's it. That's it for me with the Grail Knight. Absolutely awesome. Can't say enough good things about it. I don't think I've got any negatives. And please let me know in the comments what you think of the Grail Knight. You know, have you got him already? Do you feel the same as me, or am I drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit here? Have you got some negative thoughts about this figure? Just let me know. I'd be really interested to hear. And please like the video if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe and all that jazz. I'm trying to push my first 1,000 subscribers. So if this, any more Indiana Jones content or more toys, news and reviews interests you, please consider subscribing to the channel. I try and post a couple of times a week, so I'm trying to be reasonably regular with my videos. It'd be lovely to have you over here. But regardless, thank you so much for joining me with this figure today. And if you are enjoying the Indiana Jones Adventure series, why not check out this video next? Thanks ever so much for joining me today. I hope you all take care. Speak to you soon. Bye bye.